Yeah, bring his mic up just a little bit more so it covers his face.
Can't hide the moneymaker here. Forgot to shave today. I need it.
Me too. I forgot to.
You haven't shaved in weeks.
Are you kidding me? This is just a couple days. I just like making annoying sounds that I know he can hear and he can't escape.
107 of the Stephen and Kevin Show. 107 of the Stephen and Kevin Show. Why am I having a hard time saying show?
Slow? Well, you want me to do it? I don't mind doing it.
Go for it.
Perfect. Yeah.
This is a series for financial advisors. We offer easy to implement marketing and practice management advice. This is the Stephen and Kevin Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 107 of the Stephen and Kevin Show. Today, we have a really fun topic to dive into.
Today, we're talking all about video, and we've covered video in the past, but it has been a while, and we covered a really narrow subset of video. Today, we're going to broaden it and deepen it.
It's a deep dive on video.
Yeah, and we're excited about it because we do a lot of video. As you know, you're watching a video or maybe you're listening to us, but we do a lot of video here at Oechsli. It's had a great impact on our business, and we'll share some perspective on that. But we've also seen it have impact on advisor businesses, and we're excited about that for all of you. For a variety of reasons, compliance and otherwise, advisors have been slow to embrace video, and we're starting to see that tide change, and I love it. We've seen the improvement of a lot of social networks. Like LinkedIn is vastly more interesting now that advisors are on video.
For sure.
And I'm excited for all of you. And we want to see it improve. Like day by day, week by week, we want to see these videos get better and more entertaining for us and your clients.
Yeah, and like Stephen said, we've done video for quite some time. And when we were first starting out with video, I mean, this is years ago. I mean, how did we learn? We watched videos on YouTube. I mean, that's kind of what we did. And we experimented, bought all types of equipment. I remember specifically us even trying, do you remember like Apple had those white backgrounds, like the crisp white, like totally white backgrounds? I don't know. I can't tell you how many hours we spent trying to replicate that background. And we'd be like, no, it's a little dark here in this area. And
we tried that. We tried the total black background.
Yes, we did do that. I remember that.
I mean, I remember we had these gigantic lights. They were like the fluorescent bulbs.
Yes.
That we bought and would shine on this white. It was silliness, but you only learn through trial and error.
Yeah, hopefully we'll help shorten that learning curve for you today. If you're an advisor who says, yes, I want to get into video, because we've learned a lot over the years. I think we have over 500 videos now on YouTube, and we're constantly trying to put out new stuff.
Yeah, by the way, we've reached 3,000 subscribers on YouTube, which I'm proud of. I think it's taken us a while to get there. My kids look at that and they think it is hilarious that I've only got 3,000 subs.
I was going to tell you that Leo said the same thing. My 8-year-old was like, only 3,000. And I was like, well, look, we're very niche. Like, I'm not trying to create videos for anyone and everyone. It's really for financial professionals.
It's more about quality, Leo.
Yes.
We have some really high quality subscribers.
Well, I'm going to show him this clip now. He's going to be excited.
If you have not subscribed yet, please do. We'd love to have you subscribe to the channel. But let's hop into it today. Video, we're going to cover today a variety of things, both why video, how to set up video, how to do it properly in terms of your delivery, because video is not all equal. There's some good and bad, right?
Oh, of course.
On the plus side, video can make you look like a superstar and attract new business. On the negative side, people can watch your video and be like, I'm never working with him.
It's true, though. It's very true. There's a skill set that comes along with presenting on camera.
So let's start with why video, Kevin. If you were to make the case for an advisor as to why they'd get into video content, what would you say?
First thing I would say is super humanizing. I mean, there's nothing like someone seeing you on camera, you explaining a topic, and then feeling like they know you a little bit, right? I mean, it's the next best thing to being face-to-face with someone. So, yeah, and we see this all the time, as we put out more videos, but we'll run into advisors who are like, hey, I saw your video on this, or I feel like I'm talking to a celebrity, and we're like, no, we're not celebrities. They just feel like that because they've consumed so much content. And so it's really humanizing, and people feel like they know you, and it will change the sales process for you.
Yeah, so in terms of thought leadership and impacting people from afar.
Yes.
The equivalent I like to draw for people is like, many people listen to the radio on their way to work. And if you have a favorite morning show, over time, you feel like, it's not like you know the people, but you know a lot about them.
You do.
Like you over time, through little bits and pieces, kind of like through what we're talking about in video, you get to know people. And we're able to shape perceptions about our brand, our smarts, our personality, one video at a time. One video at a time, I'm able to show you, if I'm a good financial advisor, that let's say I'm really knowledgeable about a specific subject. I'm able to show you that I'm a very passionate person about what I do.
Right.
I'm able to share you that I care about my clients and my team members. Like just one video at a time, I'm able to impress upon you things that are really good about my business.
Yep.
The other case I'd make for video is that we don't want to swim upstream as it relates to the social channels on which we want to thrive. And by that, I mean, you could say, I'm all about white papers, long form written content. And that's what you're all about. Those aren't thriving on LinkedIn, Facebook, anywhere.
The networks don't want that type of content.
No, the networks are desperate for video content.
Right.
We find ourselves in the scroll, as they say,
Right.
with short form video content. You, me, everybody, feed them that content.
Right. And trending more and more vertical, right? Which we see.
Yeah, you can look at some of the stats behind this. When you look at total media consumption, and we reported these stats. These aren't Oechsli stats. We reported these stats. These are from Ipsos to a company that we were building a white paper for, and they were like, "These can't be accurate." I'm like, "No, they are accurate," and we got into a little bit of discussion as to why. Here's the number of hours per week that we consume by generation of media consumption.
Okay.
Right? These numbers are going to seem astronomically high to you. So seniors are 38 hours a week. Boomers, 39 hours a week. Gen X, 42 hours a week. Millennials, 85 hours a week.
Whoa, that's a big jump.
And Gen Z, 83 hours a week. And the question, and a great question to ask is like, how in the world? Like, is this like 2 jobs you're working? 83 hours a week is a lot of media consumption. Some of this stuff is happening concurrently. Like, how many times are you watching a show on TV and you've got your phone out?
Oh, man.
How many times for you, Kevin, are you watching a show, you've got a tablet, a computer, and your phone out?
You know, I think about, I actually seek out shows that I can watch while I'm consuming on other devices that I can jump back into and I don't have to pay that much attention to. Like if I was watching like Succession, right? I have to pay attention to it and I love that show, by the way. But I look at other shows that are like, oh, I can kind of passively watch this in the background.
You can have your Dr. Pimple Popper on and be all good.
I kind of like that show.
Yeah, it's on at our house every now and then. Hey, so when you look at those hours, some of the reason is it's happening concurrently.
Yeah.
And also that it factors in all the different ways that we're exposed through our computer, through our phone, through our radio. Media is everywhere, right?
Sure.
So how do we tap into that? If you're a financial advisor, I would want to be in that feed.
Oh, definitely.
I want to be there all the time. I want to be omnipresent in your life with really thoughtful, clever little videos all the time.
Yeah.
So the why to me is that in yesteryear, you might have put up a billboard. You might have bought a page in a magazine. Like, those are ways that you would reach more people. Those are ways that you would share the word about your business. Everybody should work with us. If you're wealthy and you live around here, you ought to work with us as a financial advisor. Nowadays, you can be in the palm of people's hands much cheaper.
Yeah.
Much cheaper and much more widespread.
I think the word we're looking for here is scale. Right?
Yeah.
We can scale our message into a vast audience. We can say it once, right, to individuals or giving a presentation at an event, or we can create a video once, right, and we can get it out to anyone and everyone as long as we have the distribution behind it.
Yeah, so Kevin, you mentioned Oechsli as an example and how far we've come in video. And that's not to toot our own horn, but objectively, you can look at our first YouTube video versus our latest, and there's a difference in quality.
I think I've archived some of those videos because some of them were terribly embarrassing.
Yeah, one of them looked like we were shooting outside of a prison. I
Yeah.
mean, the videos, that I highlight this from time to time in front of an audience, and I'll showcase a couple of examples. One is of Matt, and he's in front of what looks like it's a barbed wire fence at our old office. And one of the first comments was like, "Did you just get out of prison?"
Yeah.
And the other one was of Kevin, and we had this is like when we were doing our own graphics and all that, and it was Kevin, and right across his chest was this 1-800 number. It was just embarrassing.
It is embarrassing.
But, the evolution of that is not only in the quality, but in the consumption of it, as we've had more and more people view these, and we've put more effort into the distribution, which we'll also get into today. There's been more of a business impact. So you can look at some of the things that we tried early on in the evolution of Oechsli. We cold called. We sent out mailers. We did all kinds of things to try to reach people. It wasn't fun. It wasn't pleasant. And a lot of times the conversations were, who's Oechsli?
Right.
What do you guys do? As compared to now, our sales are all inbound. Like people who end up engaging Oechsli find us through various means.
And then they
Video's
reach
a
out
big
to
part
us.
of that, right?
Yeah,
they
and
reach
they-
out to us already with some knowledge about who we are, what we do, and what we bring to the table.
Yes.
So it's not like they just sign up, but they come in with some knowledge about the offerings that we provide. And the same can happen for financial advisors.
It does, and it changes that sales process, right? Yeah, it goes from, hey, I'm meeting with you, and you got to share with me kind of your secret sauce, whereas opposed to like, you know what, I've already shared the secret sauce via video, and I already know you, and so the credibility's there. They believe what you believe. They're coming in kind of pretty much with a few questions and ready to rock and roll. So it is tremendous when you get to that point where you're putting out enough content. Well, and that's going to come down to consistency and doing a lot of this. It's going to take some time.
My goal for you is if you're a financial advisor listening to this and you're thinking about getting into video content, my goal is for you to become a little bit of a local celebrity to where when you see somebody at your club, they're like, they might not come up to you and be like, yeah, I saw your videos, but you know they did. You know?
Right.
That's what I aspire.
I like that. I like that concept a lot.
Yeah, that's what I aspire for you. That's what I want to have happen. And for them to see you in a really positive way.
Yeah, and the other thing that I've heard Matt Oechsli talk about in terms of the why is especially for some newer financial professionals, and that he says it kind of video levels the playing field a little bit, right? It used to be like you want to get your message out, you need to be at the right clubs, right? You need to know the right people, and now it's like, you know what? I can be a newer advisor, very knowledgeable, showcase that through video and get that out across. And there's not the barrier to entry is less.
Yeah, and he would point to the fact that, as compared to them coming into your office as a new advisor and you're in a cubicle versus not the big corner office advisor who's been there for a long time.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter online. Hey, so let's talk about how to get into this, because there's a variety of ways to do it. It can be a little bit intimidating because there's a lot of technology and tools involved, and you can go down that rabbit hole quickly.
Oh, for sure.
Just this week, we were picked on for being in a meeting. I'm unboxing a new teleprompter that I got. We don't use them all that often, but we're exploring the use of them for financial advisors. We never use them. But for Kevin, he's over here unboxing a light that he got that he was super pumped about. I'm sure he's going to talk to you about it today.
It's the Lume Cube Edge light. God. Let's talk a little bit about that light.
So anyway, all this technology and everything that goes into it can be it can be a little bit involved. However, some of our, we run a service for financial advisors who want to do more video. Quick plug, is that okay?
Yeah, I think plugs are great.
So essentially, we give you scripts. We tell you what to say. Huge part of this. Kevin and I personally get way involved in writing the scripts because we think it's fun, and we like it when it turns out really well for you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we write the scripts. We also, I even pretend like I'm presenting the scripts.
I did one yesterday.
Yeah.
It's fun. So we provide the scripts for you so that you can more or less, if you want to read it or you want to paraphrase this, you can. And then we take the footage you provide to us, oftentimes through a cell phone. Like they call them that nowadays, cell phones. Through your phone.
A mobile phone.
A mobile phone.
No, I'm just joking.
That you send to us for our team to edit. So we have professional editors here who do a fantastic job of making you look great.
Yes.
They put in intros and music and call outs, and the end product is a lot better than you perceive it in the beginning. Like when we shoot this video at the end of this, Kevin will be like, "How'd you think it went?" And I'll be like, it was all right. And but then when we watch it back with a little bit of polish, you're like, that came out pretty well.
Right.
So I'm sorry, Kevin, in that service, for a very reasonable fee, we can give you content to record on, polish your footage, and get it back to you in a format that's postable. And it's a really neat thing. But my point in all that is a lot of people just do it through their phone.
True, for sure. So the first thing when you're thinking about your setup is your camera, right? So yes, your phone can shoot decent footage, right? Most of your phones can shoot 4K. So that's a great starting point for sure. We could also be looking at a webcam. I mean, I know that people might say, "Oh, webcam." Well, there's some webcams that shoot some decent footage as well. And also, when it comes to ease of use, webcam is really simple, right? Probably just a USB that you're plugging in. Then you get up into the more expensive cameras, right?
Yeah, and it's all based on where you're at technologically and your desire for really good output. Like for me, at my desk, I want to have a DSLR camera. I want to have proper lighting. It matters to me, even on video conferencing, to look my best on these things.
Right.
And it's interesting, even for video conferencing, for many of you, it's worth upgrading your equipment solely for that. and you'll be surprised at how many reactions you get from people who are like, "Dang, how does your image so clear?" Or what'd you do with the lighting in the background? How's your background blurry?
You're talking about not just when you shoot a video, but when you're on like a conference call or a Zoom meeting.
That
or
alone
WebEx.
to me, as we're talking about equipment, is worth upgrading for. It's just your appearance on video conferencing, because that's not going away. But when you think about how you're going to do recorded video, a webcam can work. A smartphone is a little better. A DSLR camera, call it a $600 to $6,000 if you want to go nuts, camera will certainly make you look your best. But don't get hung up on that. The biggest challenge we have with people is that them actually doing video.
Right. Yeah. So camera is number one, right? Like number two would be what? Would you say lighting?
Lighting.
Yeah, lighting for sure. So we want some sort of, lighting, and it could be a softbox. Like you need something that's going to help.
Audio is important as well. Like if you look at, I was sharing with someone earlier today, my desktop looks a bit Frankenstein. I mean, I've got an external light, I've got an external camera, I've got a teleprompter now set up there so I can make eye contact during my video conferences. I've got, what else? Basically every periphery you can have coming off my desktop so that for video conferencing or recorded video, you can look the part.
Well, we like playing around with equipment. Like we like to buy and try new things.
There's a reason for that. I mean, every little bit that you add, you tend to get a little bit better. Your audio sounds more full, more clear.
I can't suffer through a video with poor audio.
Yeah.
I just can't. So having some sort of, again, external audio. I mean, the audio that's built into your webcam or whatever is not going to be great. Same thing with your phone. You're going to need something that you can plug in there, and this is going to enhance it. My number one tip when it comes to audio and microphones is to get closer to the microphone. And I know that sounds basic, but the closer you get, usually the richer the sound.
Yeah, and think about the comparison here. This struck me years ago, the first time that I ever saw one of our shows on the TV. And the kids are flipping through some things, and one of my sons, he was in one of our early videos, and he wanted to find it. So he goes up, he's looking through there, and I was like, in comparison to the other crap that they watch on TV that's highly, highly produced, really good quality production. They're Mr. Beast type.
You're talking about Blippi?
Maybe.
Yeah, it could be Blippi. But I mean, again, the production is pretty phenomenal.
Oh, yes. But in comparison, our stuff looked like garbage.
Yeah.
And that's who you're being compared to, other people that are also in the palm of your client's hands, that are also on your client's TVs.
Sure.
You're being compared to that, at least subconsciously. And if your footage is really raw, straight from your webcam, no external audio, no lighting, you're going to look ridiculous in comparison.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're on the same screens.
Yes.
Like the same thing, I can look at SportsCenter on my phone. I can also then flip to your advisor video, and the contrast there, it's always going to be great. I mean, because they're using very, very sophisticated equipment. However, you don't want it to be an eyesore. So spend a little time and money. Reach out to us. Connect with us on LinkedIn. Send us messages on LinkedIn if you want a little bit of advice on equipment. We've got plenty of it.
Before we move out of production value today, what do we tell an advisor who says, well, it's about the quality of the content only, I should just pull up my phone and shoot a video and post it. Who cares about any sort of production value, right? Which I've heard someone say that. Well, isn't it just about the quality of the content? And what would you say to that type of advisor?
No, it's like we're all very judgmental.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sorry. The equivalent today. So the Italian suit of a decade ago is the equivalent to fancy cameras and mics and lighting of today.
Ooh, wow, that's good.
But it's true.
That's good. Did you just come up with that?
If you're going to spend $2,000
It is.
on
I'm
a
serious.
Canali suit 10 years ago, spend $2,000 today on a Canon or Sony camera, external mic. I mean,
like it. It's the first indication of the quality of advice. So like, yes, I could suffer through your video of poor production, and then at the end of it, I'm like, oh, that was actually pretty good advice, but I might not even give you the chance because I think it looks really poorly produced and I just move on.
Well, think about what your eyes gravitate towards even on YouTube. When you're on YouTube and you look up whatever it is, how to cook lentils, all right?
Is this a common search for you?
This is very random. But it doesn't matter whatever you're looking up on YouTube, you're going to see a list of search results, and some of them you can tell by the screenshot there that it's like, oh, this is like a guy on a hot plate in an apartment somewhere. This is not.
Now you're talking about thumbnament design. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that too. But like you can tell, and it shapes your perception of which one is actually going to be good, regardless of how good the content is.
Right.
So we're talking about in our program, we give you scripts. There's a big difference in reading through this script and looking like $1 million versus reading through this script with very, very poor equipment and setup and delivery.
Yes.
Like it's counterproductive.
I just wanted to hit upon that because I've had some advisors reach out to me on LinkedIn who said, hey, I've seen your program, thinking about it, but why don't I just pull out my phone and start shooting video? And there's some aspects of like, there's some merit to it, just doing it, but there's also some, like, yes, it's the first indication of the quality and am I going to give you my attention?
Well, Matt Oechsli was a great example of that, and he pushed us into so much of this stuff. He was like the early adopter of social networks, of video, of all that stuff. He was really pushing the envelope of that. And even though he was not like obsessed with quality at all, he would be like, hey guys, shot a few videos today. And we're like,
oh, he was the one who got the comment about the being in prison one.
Yeah, because he would not care. He'd be walking through an airport and he'd be shooting a video, and you're like, no, we can't use that.
And it's shaky. There's no gimbal.
So anyway,
there's no stabilization. Yeah,
a good balance there of getting it done and getting higher quality.
Okay, cool.
Let's talk about how to deliver properly on camera.
Right.
Because as we mentioned earlier, there's right and wrong ways to do it with a teleprompter or without. You do want to pre-plan what you're going to talk about. You don't want to totally wing it.
I agree. You want at least some sort of bulleted outline. Now, if you're at a firm that is going to have to go through some sort of compliance process, what compliance is going to want typically is a script or an outline of what you plan to say, and then they're going to want to see the final video. So you're going to have to do some pre-planning anyway, because I hear some people say, oh, don't do that. I mean, look, there's advice across the spectrum here. Just go shoot from the hip and it'll be authentic. Well, the reality is that for most of you who are at a firm, that's not even a possibility. You're going to have to, do some planning in advance. And actually, we think some planning is a good thing.
And let's talk about two ways to go about it today. Let's talk first about the block method, which we'd recommend if you don't want to go with the teleprompter. And then we'll talk about teleprompter usage second.
Block method is what we termed it. We came up with that term, but it's pretty simple. It's this. I mean, it's. I have my notes in front of me, right? I'm imagine, and again, I'm almost assuming that you're watching the video, but I memorize a couple lines, come up, look at the camera lens, deliver those lines, stop. And by the way, when you deliver those lines, hold your endings. That'll drive an editor crazy. If I finish the line and I just look down right away, or it's like, now when I'm jump cutting that, and creating the cuts later, it's going to be really difficult. Hold your endings, pause, look back down, memorize 2 lines, maybe 3, come back up, present those, and you can get through a script really quickly.
Mm-hmm. It's our favorite way to do it. If you look at some of our short form content, that's how we go about it. Mm-hmm. It's a good combination of feeling like it's got good flow.
Yeah, it feels authentic, and it feels like it's you're shooting from the hip, and it's clear that you're not reading.
But at the same time, you're not shooting from the hip. You've got really, really good notes in front of you.
Exactly.
Yeah, so consider that, especially if you've got a good editor. If you're doing this yourself, you may not want to go that route because you're going to have to go through and cut out all the dead space.
That's right.
But it's one of the things that when we provide scripts to financial advisors, we do so in block form so that you can pull it out and just read through a couple of lines.
That's it.
Master and deliver. The other way to go about it, and we're experimenting more and more with this, is with the teleprompter. If you're with a firm that requires you to basically get it word for word, or if you just don't love the idea of having to memorize even small bits of this.
Or editing,
yeah. You can use a teleprompter. I set out yesterday to prove that you can use a teleprompter, or maybe I should rephrase it. I set out yesterday to prove that I could use a teleprompter properly, and I got to a point where I think it came out really well.
I actually think it was a really good product. And I was in the office with you when you were playing with this. And just so you know, we never use teleprompters ever, hardly. And so we were like, we're experimenting with this. And so let's practice it. Practice what you preach, right?
So
we're learning.
I'm embarrassed to say it took me a long time to get it set up right. I mean, I told you I'd bought this cheap, I'm not going to name drop what I bought or the model number.
I don't think you can pronounce it.
But basically a cheap teleprompter that you hook up to your iPad. And I hooked it up yesterday and tinkered with it for maybe an hour and a half to get it exactly right, where the teleprompter words were right over the lens of my camera, to where it was moving at the right pace, to where the text wasn't too big, wasn't too small, to where there weren't too many gaps in between. By the time I got it though, and I could replicate that today, like I did earlier today, just screwing around, I could replicate that now, but originally it took me a lot of time to get set up. But afterwards, when I hit record, my epiphany afterwards was, when I watched it back, I was like, that's pretty good actually. You cannot really tell that I'm reading anything. Because the text is so small, it's going over the lens at the perfect pace. But with that setup, I could produce a gazillion videos. Like
Right.
if somebody else were giving me scripts,
You could just pump
like
them out.
Oechsli, for example.
You could pump them out.
I could go through, I would change shirts. I would go through 10 videos in no time.
Right.
Like
That's-
it's a
that's
game
cool.
changer. So more to come on that. We're working on some exciting new tech here at Oechsli to help facilitate some of that for you.
Right.
To make it even easier, because that's our mission here, is to make video easy for you. But teleprompting, it can work.
I agreed. I think when you were talking about the pace of the teleprompter, you have to kind of find what that is and then memorize what that is and know what that pace is, because that took you some time yesterday when we were playing around with it. You're like, this one seemed right at first, and then I was way ahead of the teleprompter, right? Or this one was going too fast, and I was like trying to catch up. Just like finding that sweet spot.
Yeah, but once you do, I think it's.
I also
Plug
think that
and play.
when you're using a teleprompter, if you have a few breaks every now and then where you can look away, just that illusion of natural eye contact, which
I
we
didn't
talked
do
about.
that yesterday.
You
That
didn't
was
do
hard.
that, but you could,
Yeah, I could
and that will help people feel like you're not reading as well. I mean, if I'm just staring straight ahead constantly the entire time, it might give away that I'm reading something, as opposed to every now and then my eyes can dart away and I can come right back to the script.
And what I think you can lose with a teleprompter, and I bet if I watch mine back today, I bet this is the case. You stare too intently at the words because you're trying to make sure you keep up with it, and that you're probably not as likely to show good inflection, to show good facial expressions and that sort of thing.
You have to think about what you're reading.
Yeah.
You have to take that into consideration. Yeah.
Because oftentimes, and you can do this even if you're memorizing block method, you can be so and I'll give you a really good example of this. So we had an advisor come into our office one time, humongous producer, one of the most natural and likable people you'll ever meet in your life. Like you can't meet him and not like him.
Right.
And we go from the hallway, having a cup of coffee and enjoying each other's company with the most normal, likable person you'll ever come across,
Jovial.
to being in front of
funny.
the camera, and all of a sudden you're like, what happened?
Yeah.
What?
Stiffened up.
At such and such wealth management, we provide, and you're like, no, what happened to you in the hallway?
Yeah. Get back to that person.
Yeah, and so the tendency is, especially if you're newer to video, you're so obsessed with getting the wording right that you lose all of what makes you unique and special and likable as a human being, right? So being able to smile, being able to emphasize certain words, being able to talk more quickly sometimes and more slowly at others is what makes it good. And if you lose all of that with a teleprompter, go back to block method.
Being excited about the message you're delivering, right? Having some excitement there is huge, right? No one wants to watch a video of someone who's kind of boring.
I've done a lot of in-person presenting recently, more so than I obviously coming out of the pandemic, but recently I've been on the road a lot. And I've been talking about video with some audiences that are able to do it. And it's surprising to me how many times people record video and then don't use it because we're self-conscious about it.
Yeah.
And I say that as a prelude to this bit of advice, is that I would watch it back after you record yourself doing something so that you get a sense. Sometimes I record something, I watch it back, I'm like, man, I was really low energy on that one. I need to do it again.
Sure.
But also you can be your own worst critic and you watch it back and you watch it back and you record and you re-record because you're just uncomfortable with what you're seeing.
Well, you fixate on any sort of error that you made, and the reality is a lot of times people don't even notice some of that stuff.
Yeah. So watch it back, make sure your energy is right, but don't obsess over it. The only way to get through that hurdle of getting better on camera is to shoot more of it.
Yep.
That's the only way. At some point, and this isn't bragging, but at some point, you're talking about public speaking, if you're talking about being on video, just by sheer repetition, you get to a point where you don't have a lot of nerves about it anymore. And some people are naturally like that, and other people have to work towards it. But through repetition, you learn it's not big of a deal.
Right. That's right.
So let's talk about. So let's say that you've set up you've got a beautiful setup. Your background is on point. You've got great lighting, camera, mic. You look your best on film. You've got a great message. What do you do with this video afterwards?
Yeah. So we could talk about distribution, right? And before that, I mean, obviously some sort of editing. I mean, most of the time your video is going to need a little bit of editing. Yeah. And that could be, cutting out some dead space. It could be adding some bumpers, right? It could be adding a little bit of music and just giving it a little bit of life. And again, you're competing with other people online who are doing that stuff.
Watch this. So when you are watching a YouTube video, for example, whatever your flavor is, if it's cooking, if it's sports, if it's my kids and Mr. Beast or whatever other silly stuff they're watching, watch the pace of action that takes place. Watch the pace of cuts.
So fast.
There's something happening like every second.
Yes.
Over and over and over again. And I say that not because I want you to be that quick in terms of your your jump cuts and all the other things you're adding in there. But if you're in a stagnant shot that's just you speaking into a microphone for 2 minutes and nothing ever changes and you're reading like a monologue here, it's going to be jarring in comparison to the fast-moving stuff that we're used to online.
I mean, it's going to be just boring, really.
So editing, to your point, Kevin, makes a huge difference. If you got a good editor who's going to go in and make those jump cuts, who's going to add in some graphics and visual...
It's the visual interest is what it is. It's just keeping your eyes interested constantly. So that's an important component. So that aside, next we're looking at distribution and what do we want to do with these videos? And let's assume that we're creating more educational style videos. Maybe every now and then it's a little something personal, but in general, we're creating evergreen content that a financial advisor can then take and distribute. We want it anywhere we can put it. I mean, really, like, don't hide these things. Obviously, your website makes a ton of sense. I'd be putting this video in my newsletter. I'd be putting it on YouTube if I'm allowed to do that. I'd be putting it natively on the social channels, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I'd be creating a vertical version if I could, and it with snippets that I could put on Reels or Shorts. Like I kind of want it everywhere it can go, because if I'm putting all this energy into this, like I want as much distribution as possible. And I was talking to an advisor this week, and we had a whole session on video, and she said, we've shot so many videos, but gosh, we do nothing with them. And I was like, what? What do you mean? And she was like, well, we just put them on our website, and that's pretty much it. It's like, that seems like just such a loss. Also, recycling these things. Like, it's not just that I post them once on LinkedIn. Like, I could spread that posting out over the next few months, and I could have multiple posts. But sometimes we assume that, like, once we create the video and we put it out once, it's done. No. I can almost guarantee you that the majority of your audience didn't consume it. Put it out there again. Put it out there again. Put it out there again. Right? You created that asset, and now you can use it multiple times.
Great advice. It's such a waste if you just put it on your website. If you were to look at, and by the way, all of what Kevin referenced there, you would need to have in a checklist.
Yeah.
Like if you were to look at our checklist for what to do with each individual video that we shoot,
it's a lot.
You would be like, what is wrong with these guys?
Right.
Like you're that particular about where it goes and in what format and how it's transcribed and what budget goes behind it if you're going to use it as an ad. Like it's elaborate, but that happens one step at a time.
Oh, I didn't even mention that the paid advertising.
No, let's save that for a second. But it's elaborate what you do with every single video, but that's okay. That's how you're going to get the most eyeballs on it. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned, for example, the formatting difference between something that's horizontal versus vertical.
Yep.
Your vertical videos are going to get a lot more plays than your horizontal.
Oh, they will.
Just by nature of, I mentioned earlier, people being in the scroll on Facebook. On Instagram, wherever else, on YouTube Shorts, TikTok. Yep. I mean, this is the impact of TikTok. Really, is where all this comes from.
It really is. I mean, it's Instagram trying to catch up with them, right? And my wife makes fun of me all the time because I send her reels on Instagram, and she's like, "Oh yeah, that's like 2 weeks ago on TikTok." But it's the reality of it, and they want to compete, right? So they're giving more distribution to those vertical videos. So we have to take that into consideration.
But to your point, Kevin, reach, eyeballs, views on this is what I'm most consumed with. Yes. And I get there by spreading it in every network that I'm allowed to spread it on.
That's right.
And perhaps even putting some budget behind it.
It's so funny. I mean, because I see some advisors who are like, oh, I don't think this is Facebook appropriate. I'm like, man, put it on Facebook. Like, put it everywhere that you can put this.
Absolutely. And a little bit of budget goes a long ways on these. It may feel like cheating the system a little bit, but let's say, for example, if Facebook gives you organic reach of roughly 5%.
Yep.
And so 5%
on a Facebook business page. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say that you post your video on your business page, 5% of your followers, which, no offense, you don't have 50,000 of them. Right.
Unless you paid for them.
Yeah. Let's say you've got a few hundred followers. You're not getting a lot of people to see that video through Facebook. No. However, if you boost it, even in this most simplest, let's say, here's another plug. Oechsli does digital ads, and we can run a legit Facebook ad campaign for you. Mm-hmm. But also, if you wanted to boost each video on there, could spend a few bucks, and they'll say for $20 you can reach 600 more people. They want you to pay for placement, and that's okay.
Yeah,
be willing to boost every post. Be willing to sponsor it on YouTube if you need to. Get some eyeballs on it.
Yeah, especially for networks that the organic reach is so low, it makes a lot of sense to do that.
Yeah. So, what gives you some signal that your video is working, Kevin?
Ooh. This is a good one. And this is a common question. So it's imagine an advisor who says, okay, I get it. I'm jumping into video, started creating a few videos. What's my ROI? Oh, and look, it's not an easy question. I mean, if you asked us right now, what's Oechsli's ROI on creating all these videos? We couldn't give you a number, but could we say that we know that it's attributed to new business? Definitely.
Yeah, there's a reason we're in here.
Yeah, exactly.
I could be on the golf course right now. It's a beautiful North Carolina day.
Yeah.
But I'm in here shooting video, partly.
Begrudgingly.
No.
I'm joking.
No, but we all have options of what we do with our time, and putting effort into video has paid off for us phenomenally.
Yeah,
and
it has. But if someone says, "What's the ROI?" Like I can't tell you. Oh, okay, you create 2 videos, and I can guarantee you're going to get a client from it. No, it doesn't work like that. But there are signals that it's working.
Well, here's the question I ask people, because I think anybody in the marketing space doesn't like it when there's a pointed question about ROI that's something that is clearly hard to measure ROI for.
I mean, if I were selling some sort of widgets on Facebook, then yes, I could probably, I could tell you, hey, this is your ad spend, and this is the number of orders we've gotten.
Like there's a lot of metrics we could show you about video, but a clear ROI isn't possible because of video is influencing every part of the sales process, even for folks who didn't come to you purely from the video.
True.
So if I meet you through our involvement in a local organization and you're a financial advisor, and I've seen some of your videos over time because they're appearing in my feed because we're friends or I follow your page or whatever, and then ultimately you ask me if I'd like to have a business meeting with you, all the times I've seen those videos have influenced my decision as to whether or not I come to your office.
That's good.
Let's say that I'm an affluent person in the area, and my accountant recommends that I come to you. Do I look you up in advance? Does it shape my perception? Yeah,
definitely.
How do I measure ROI on that?
Yeah. So let's talk about some of these signs that it's working. Signs that, like, if you're getting into this, what are those indicators that I'm doing the right things? And the first one that we would say is that people in your life start referencing your videos. So maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a neighbor, right? Maybe it's someone you know at the club who says, hey, by the way, I saw your video the other day on that. It was good, right? They start referencing it. And that should be a signal to you that, wow, they're consuming my content. And they're consuming the most humanizing content that I can possibly produce right now, right? I mean, yes, I could design a graphic or write an article, but they're watching me present. And that's valuable.
There are a ton of people in your life right now who know vaguely what you do for a living, who don't really, really know.
Good point.
They just don't. And so you take anybody, take anybody in your life. You think, well, our kids are on the same team together. They've got to know that I specialize in this and that I focus on that. They don't know.
They don't know.
They might know that you kind of work in financial services, but they don't know that much about it. Through video, you can showcase that. Yep. One piece at a time. And when they reference, I saw you on video, it's usually a positive thing.
So that's number one, right? Yeah. It's like people that you kind of know, like, they're already in your social circles and they start referencing it. The second kind of tier up to me would be when clients start referencing it, right? I mean, you want your clients to be consuming your content, right? So all of a sudden they're coming into a meeting and they're referencing it during a review. You're at a client event and they reference a video. Wow. My clients are actually starting to consume the content. Next tier up from that would be you have prospects who come in, right? And they said, and they'll say, oh, by the way, before we met today, I watched a bunch of your videos, right? Or I found you because I saw this video in this, or one of your clients forwarded me this video. Like that's, and look, that's the point where you can be like, oh yes, I feel like I'm getting that ROI. But again, you still can't necessarily calculate it.
Correct. Yeah. But that's a really good feeling. And even if you prompt that, even if you're talking with somebody who came to you fresh and they don't mention, I've been watching all your videos,
right?
They maybe were influenced by that. And you can just ask them. So, hey, I know you came to us by way of your accountant, and we're so thankful for that. Have you been able to check out our website or any of the videos that we put out there?
That's right.
I'm just curious, right? I want an affirmative answer there.
And it'll take a little bit of time to get to that point where you feel like, oh, wow, like prospects are really consuming this stuff more and more and more. I mean, the initial indicators are going to happen. They could happen right away.
But when you get really good at this and you do a lot of it, you're going to have people mentioning it to you a lot.
Yes.
A lot.
Yeah.
So, and I say that because we'll go through an airport and I'll see somebody I haven't seen.
This happened not too long
This
ago.
happened twice in one day. We were at an airport and ran into somebody that was like a former neighbor of mine from 10 years ago. He's like, I keep watching your videos, man.
Yeah.
I'm not an advisor, but this is relatable to what I do. I love those videos.
Right.
And you're like, okay. So my goal for you is that you get that conversation all the time.
Yeah.
That people are like, oh yeah, I know you from the videos.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm after.
It feels good, and you know you're making some traction. And yes, it changes the sales process. And I think that's probably a common theme that we've woven throughout today's podcast is like when you start creating more content like this, people come in and it's just different. They feel like they know you already. They don't know you, right? You're just creating videos, but because the medium is so humanizing, they feel that connection with you. It's very, very different.
So, quick plug. If you're considering video and you haven't gotten into it, or even if you've dabbled with it on your own, leverage Oechsli Video. Like I said, we tell you what to say. We produce your footage. We give you advice on the best way to look your best, your background, your equipment. We've helped the vast majority of people who come to us are new to video, and we help them through that process, and we're good at it.
I think we looked at the last couple of years, we've edited over 2,000 videos. Like we've done quite a bit of this. We're big proponents of it. Like we do it ourselves, right? We believe in this medium, and it's a program worth checking out.
For sure. We can do some deep dives on this, right? We said it was going to be a deep dive. It really wasn't. We covered a wide variety of topics and gave you some helpful insights, I hope. But look out for future videos because there's so much we can cover in terms of the equipment. There's so much we can cover in terms of the topics that you can cover, the presentation skills. There's so many different aspects of this that you can nerd out on at your leisure. But thanks for joining us. Subscribe if you haven't already. We'll catch you next time for 108.